Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the latest episode of Rick and Morty The Curicksous Case of Bethjamin Button. Curicksous Case of Bethjamin Button. Yes, sorry, sometimes you look at the titles and you're like, how the fuck do you kind of say that one? So, this one definitely felt like a mashing together of two ideas that they had and trying to make them work together. And it didn't really work out that well for me. Like, I don't think each premise is crappy on their own. I think they each deserved a full episode on their own kind of merits. But the problem gets into the effect of trying to mix them together because you then start taking away from both of them to try and kind of meld them enough together to make one the more kind of prominent plot versus the other one. So we kind of start off when we see that both Beths are still unhappy, either being and working as the horse doctor or Space Beth just kind of going around doing her stuff while we've got the where everybody knows your name kind of song playing, and they're just both kind of unhappy and trying to figure out what's going on when then Rick, Summer, Jerry, and Morty were pretty much going to go to this Earth theme park. Let's see. An Earth World one, based on an alien that is into Earth but really hasn't been there before. And the main kind of gist is that it's become pretty much corporatized, and that Rick liked it when it was bad. Kind of that contrarian kind of thing going on, where they like something because it's bad, and it's like unsafe, dangerous, and just completely out of whack. But they kind of get there, and it's like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? Let's see. Yeah, we can hit that first before we get to the kind of Beth stuff. So they kind of get there. We see that Morty has his own kind of little C plot where this alien is pretty much just fetishizing kind of Earth people and pretty much wants to get it on with Morty, and then trying to get him to say like racist kind of shit before the plot pretty much gets to the point where everything's going haywire in the park and everything going on. It's like, oh, okay, so we're doing like Westworld, Jurassic Park kind of shit. All right. And the thing is, it doesn't even. It kind of goes Rick and Morty nuttiness, but not really into anything kind of different or kind of flavorful for me, if that makes sense. I don't mind theme park goes awry and shit kind of going nutty doodah and everything. And the main kind of gist is that this dude pretty much making humans with like big heads and then kind of turns it. I think Danny DeVito was the dude that did Dr. Dog Balls, because it's all sanitized and everything, and like, what the fuck's kind of going on? And then he starts asking the mascots, and we find out that they're not mascots, they're actually people with giant fucking heads. And they just keep going further down and down into the place, and then they see Dr. Dog Balls, this kind of stuff. It's like, oh yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna make my army and fucking like destroy this shit and do the ultimate kind of theme park kind of shit before that goes down, and kind of sets everything into a complete and utter tailspin. Before this, Rick then goes back and kind of deals with what's kind of going on with the Beths. But we see that Summer and Jerry pretty much have to get themselves kind of out of the situation a little bit, rescuing Morty from being kind of like ripped apart by the, like this Culkin, like the Culkins, like Macaulay Culkin amalgamation fucking motherfucker. It's like, okay, all right. And then they pretty much drive this car pretty much back home, and then that links them back up with the whole Beth plot. The Beths pretty much are like, oh yeah, just trying to figure out why they're both unhappy. And they're like, I don't know if it's Rick and dealing with their father issues and everything like that, and being like, oh yeah, being young would be awesome again. And she's got this thing that could pretty much turn them to 10-year-olds, where Space Beth pretty much goes out for bounties and decides to pretty much de-age them to make them easier to deal with, and also pack more of them into her car. However, Beth then, Earth Beth, rightly calls out, wait a minute, you're now then dealing with like a pack of like 10-year-olds in your fucking spaceship. What the fuck would go on with that kind of shit? So she pretty much turns the Earth One into a 10-year-old who kind of goes a little bit crazy, but she's able to kind of like capture her. And then, of course, they switch in reverse, and we see that she's like a fucking insane kind of little kid. And then they both pretty much turn themselves into little kids and just kind of at first have fun and are kind of friends and trying to figure out what's kind of going on, and progressively getting more violent as they decide to pretty much go after their neighbor Jean, and also fighting each other along the same kind of lines. This, of course, is where they start, where Rick pretty much pops back into it because he intercepts Jean's 911 call, where Jean was pretty much like, oh, I kind of figured that you kind of do some crazy ass shit. How would I make you guys some cocoa and shit? As they like stalk him and hunt him, take down his legs kind of Pet Cemetery style. Not my tendons. And then they start fighting each other and then accidentally set his house on fire as the dude kind of like has a degloved hand, which is like, wow, trying to like use his phone to call 911. Of course, he kind of gets helped by the firefighters. However, Rick then just gives him a big giant fucking suitcase of cash, heals up Jean a little bit, and tries to kind of like help out with what is going on in his house. Rick tries to pretty much go and deal with the Best getting injured by their Home Alone kind of booby traps and everything, where they then shut him into the de-aging thing, but age him up to like 360 years and everything like that. And they pretty much had this kind of like little epiphany moment where they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's, you're never there, and now how does it feel to be dependent upon us and shit like that? It's like, I lost my Beth. And then they're like, who did we lose? Before kind of reconciling and laughing and everything, and Rick, of course, shitting himself while he's laughing. But they kind of get to a little kind of thing. They both kind of lost people, and they're trying to kind of make the best with their family. It's like, okay, that's a nice kind of emotional moment to have that there. It's just, it took a little bit and was kind of like, all right. I don't... Rick kind of calls that nobody wants to see a Beth episode. I'm like, no, if a Beth episode is done well and executed well, I think it would be a pretty interesting one. Jerry's the one that you have to watch out for because he usually gets very annoying on certain kind of things. So, I kind of put Jerry in the kind of tier like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? You always have to watch out for his kind of execution on shit. But this kind of stuff of them kind of dealing with their whole kind of relationship of what they're trying to do, how they're trying to look at their work, look at their life, why they're unhappy and everything like that. And then also going back to their jobs and their usual kind of routines, and then also repairing Jean's house. We see that Summer, Morty, and them kind of pop back up. Like, holy fucking shit. And like Rick's got to kind of deal with that. And then the last stinger at the end is Jean's recordings from 911 of like, what the fuck? Like all these different kind of things. I'm like, oh, out of the stingers, it was kind of like the least kind of inventive and eventful one for me. But I've seen worse and stuff, so it's not that bad of a thing. It's like, oh, okay. So with this one, I really wouldn't recommend it because it just doesn't execute either kind. I really think that if they had stuck with the Earthworld one, and really got everybody involved and just really went balls out insanity on it, that would have been a really kind of cool ass fucking crazy episode. Same with the Beth one, like trying to be introspective and understand why they're still unhappy, even though they were both kind of given what they wanted and what was going on, and they're like, yeah, it's not really Jerry. What's kind of, it's something that they have to kind of figure out. That's kind of cool, but we don't, each one's cut down enough to kind of jam them together as like a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich. Sure, it sounds kind of good, and it could be pretty good if you execute it well enough, but there's a lot more problems that can go along with that kind of combination than you think. Now, it didn't go completely and utterly spiral, but it just really didn't do it for me. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.